Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
Hey, loud and clear, Coach Jay. How are you doing today?
Doing okay, doing all right. Took a little loss, but that's okay. But doing well outside. Busy day today, but that's always good. It's good to be busy. Good to be in multiple places at one time sometimes. Sometimes I wish I could duplicate myself, but maybe the technology is coming. I'm sure Elon's working on it. How you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing okay. I traded it well. I made a little bit of money um, following the process.
Nice.
What I'd say is, are at the buzzers. How's everybody doing? And
To
remember, a losing day isn't necessarily a bad trading day. Keep that in mind. Um, that's actually part of the game.
Galvanizer Trades says blue XFA today because I couldn't accept a loss. Shaking my head. I've been there. I have been there. Uh, I have been there. What do you learn from it? What do you take as a lesson going forward? Have you already learned the lesson? And is it, the time to ask yourself, how many times am I willing to learn this lesson before I make a change in doing it? Um,
Um, yeah. Um, you hit a key point, and it's part of the hard lesson of trading is accepting before the loss, accepting the risk when you
yep,
make the trade, and it's b- the the difference between success and failure is that. So learn that lesson. You're either learning or you're winning.
there you go.
Um,
I like that.
so take it. You know it. You just said it. So next trade, next series, practice the make it a practice to measure your risk when you enter the trade. Accept the risk or don't take the trade or size down. Either way, learn that lesson and you'll go very far.
Awesome stuff, Coach. We do have SMCI super microcomputer reporting earnings. So I have TradingView up on the side. We'll take a look at that when we get into it. But welcome everyone to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, I'm Coach Jay. That is Coach Paul. The goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. If this is our first time meeting, I'm Coach Jay. Been a top step performance coach since June of 2023. Been trading for the past 13 years and in the futures markets for the past six. And that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Top Step since April of 2023. Um, I've been involved in the futures industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share my experience, um, good and bad, and some wisdom, and maybe help you become a successful or more successful trader.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for that, Coach Paul. And you are all the chat. Thank you all for being here. Hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Tell your friends and family to subscribe. I heard somebody mention on Topstep TV today that we want to get to 150K subscribers. Everyone's going to be happy when that happens. So uh, tell your friends, sign up with another email. That email that you use when you sign up for a free trial of Netflix, and then it expires, but you don't want to pay for it, so you just sign up for another free trial. Use that email, and just keep signing up. Vladimir Vladimir says,
Did you just say that if you sign if you hit like or you sign up and subscribe, there will be peace on earth?
something like that, maybe. I can't promise that, but
Can't promise, but it's certainly a possibility.
use your burner accounts. Um, Vladimir says, "Can you explain the email from this morning?" Yes. So you should have gotten an email from Topstep this morning. They mentioned it on Topstep TV. Nothing to worry about unless you have something to worry about. If it in this case, it really is the case of if it don't apply, let it fly. Right? There was um, with everything, right? We know 99% of the traders that we have here at Topstep are doing or at Topstep for the right reasons, right? Wanting to become a better trader at limited risk to their own pockets. But unfortunately, in that and just in the world in general, they're going to be bad actors, right? So some people taking advantage of sim fills and things like that. And with Topstep being the company that it is, kind of filtering some of that out. So some people's accounts are going to be blocked from ever trading with Topstep again. Sucks for them. Uh, but if that's not your situation, don't worry about it. If you're not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to worry about. But if you are, somebody might be knocking on your door. That's not a guarantee either. I'm just having fun today. Uh, let's get into these markets. Um, Not much as far as planned news goes. We know we have big numbers out tomorrow with CPI and PPI. Uh, so little quiet on the planned news front. We did have some comments out of Powell today, reiterating he was in no rush to cut rates ahead of key inflation data. Um, he had a testimony today. It wasn't really anything that we haven't heard from him before, but that's to be expected, right? He's going to kind of repeat the same things over and over again until there's something else to say. But we'll see what this inflation data brings us tomorrow. Anything you got on the news front, Coach?
Well, we know that CPI and or PPI, which will come out what Thursday,
Thursday. Yep.
um, bring with that volatility or big ranges. Plan accordingly. Um, but that's the news of the day, and you heard it from Mr. Powell himself. We'll
Mr.
see what the
Powell.
data brings. Um, and it's funny, I just on this news, this is mandated congressional testimony
Hmm.
that came about in the 80s to force the Federal Reserve to speak to Congress. So this happens twice a year. Um, and Chair Powell, if I may say, is very good at it. And they don't just talk randomly. This is all prepared. There's a whole staff, and
Yeah.
he keeps to the script. So I think the biggest thing coming out today was maybe I have a flair for the obvious, but he too is waiting for the data. And when the data comes, they'll make decisions, kind of like a good trader. Um, so be prepared for tomorrow's vow.
I'll know when I know. I'm looking at SMCI for their earnings. It looks like I see an estimate 73 cents, report 75 cents, but that's the only number I'm getting right now, and I'm not really seeing much of a reaction. So we'll wait on that one. The reason we're watching SMCI, might give us a little bit of a clue on Nvidia's earnings coming up on the 26th, but not really seeing much of a reaction yet. So, oh, actually, there it is. Here's 1 second.
And they're off.
All right, there's the reaction again. Estimates were 73 cents per share, came in at 75 cents. SMCI is one of those companies that was being investigated for cooking their books a little bit and maybe not being so honest about the money they were making. What happened, Coach? You look surprised.
I'm just shocked. Just shocked.
You mean that doesn't happen?
Anyway, that would never happen in this world. Um, Go on. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, 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 not at all. I don't know too much about it, but I do know they are one of the players in that chip space. So just kind of watching there and may give us a little bit of a clue about what happens in Nvidia. But I think Nvidia is obviously the one that we're going to watch for next week. So I'm going to close that for now. That's the wrong screen. We'll go there to TopStep X. And let's get into these markets. There are 35 different markets we can trade with TopStep accounts, not just the equities. And today, to the downside, we have micro Bitcoin futures down 1.8%, copper down 2.43%, and micro Ethereum futures down 2.71% for our biggest percentage mover to the downside. To the upside, we had RBOB gasoline futures up 1.52%, nat gas up 1.97%, and heating oil up 2.69% for our biggest percentage mover to the upside. To talk about our big four, we had crude oil up 1.16%, the S&Ps pretty much flat, up 0.03%, the Nasdaq down 0.25%, and gold down 0.27%. And what a move that was in gold if you were trading that. It was pretty crazy.
We shall go over both of those. Gold and crude. Crude was on
Scouting
the
report.
list.
Yes, it
Scouting
was.
report.
Yes, it was. Why don't we do that? Why don't we switch it up a little bit? We'll start off with what was on the scouting report. Um, it's like when you watch Sports Center, they go with the best game first. So here is crude oil last night. Last night's open. We got a 30-minute chart up here, Coach. What are you seeing here? What were we seeing yesterday to kind of put this on the scouting report? And
Well, in the half hour, we closed above the 200. Also, and this was yesterday. The 20 closed above, and momentum was on the side of the buyers. We look at the daily. We were over the 200 moving average. So as we taught, that's why it was on the scouting report. And it was pretty dramatic early. It was dramatic, but they didn't wait. Like Asia really got it going. When we talked about London, usually gets it going. So let's see what happened in Asia.
so we have the Globex open marked out here. Not really too much volume, but the Asia session open. If we want to go with that, give me 1 second. I lost my drawing tools. Where's the rectangle?
Oh,
There it
wow,
is.
that happens to you too.
Uh, I uh I used a different browser, switch
Uh,
browsers, so it changed up the settings. But here's the Asia open here. Like you said, not too much happening in that Globex session open. Uh, Really, we established a range. If VWAP never leaves that range, but once we establish Asia's range, let's just buy it.
and it came. It's interesting is it came late, so they were waiting, waiting, waiting. Or what can we say? This selling. Look at the small ranges, right?
Yep.
Which would be expected in Asia, but it drifted lower when any type of buying, the first highest volume, when that buying came in, that broke us out of that range. And of course, they have to test it with a wick. Um, it was off to the races. That was the ignition. I don't know if there was a report. I don't know. All I know is buying came in, broke us out of the range. We tested. So let's talk about this a half an hour.
Yep.
So if I do buy this because of the half hour break out, I have to take the risk of the half hour breakout. So 2 ATR risk. If I buy it, whatever that close was.
Close up here. Two ATRs would have been 32 ticks. Uh, there you go.
Okay, $320. Okay, that's kind of a lot for one trade,
Yep.
but I could do 5 micros.
Cut your risk in half.
Now, if I do 5 micros, do I get 2 to 1? I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
We're looking
we
for
get it. Now,
64 ticks. Yep.
was I nervous I was going to stop out? Absolutely. But once again, accept that risk or size down to a point where you can comfortably take a loss.
So, Coach, there's a question. Did you take this trade?
Yes.
Okay. We got a question from Rich Layton. Would you buy this before the anchored VWAP leaves the range? I know for me that I've set that as one of the criteria for my rules. Do I follow my rules all the time? I don't. But would you buy this before that VWAP leaves the range?
That's a great question. Um, in this case, I did.
There you
Why?
go.
It was on why? It was on a scouting report.
Right.
Look at what was happening coming into this trade.
Yeah. Everything said buy.
So I was aggressive. Now, I also cut it in half. I didn't want to take that risk, that full risk.
Yeah.
Um, I could turn back and go, I should have. No,
Hmm.
but that's don't do that.
Should have bought 50 and just close my eyes for the
Right.
rest of the day.
Yeah, I could have. Right. But is measuring out the risk. I was really comfortable with that trade. Now, I could have been more aggressive and bought when VWAP left. And now I have even more information. I could be more aggressive. I did not do that. Um, but I like the trade.
Yep.
Now, this is a day trade. 2 to 1. Thank you. I mean, don't make it more complicated than that.
Yep.
Um, also, let's go to a 5 minute bar.
Okay.
Now, it's a little different, but it was the same risk
Yeah.
because it took time. But look at that. When that bar came on, what was the ATR?
ATR on a 5 minute was 5 ticks. So 10 ticks. You would have gotten hit with a 2 ATR. Depending on where that entry was, you would have gotten hit for sure.
All right. Now, 5 ticks, so I lost $100.
Mhm.
Now
Yep.
it comes back again and it leaves. Now on the 5 minute, it left the range too.
Yep.
So it goes out, stops me out. If I had too much, if I took the $300, and I'm going to go with $100,000
Combo.
combine, that's 10%. That's too much. I'm one trade. Let's say I like it. I mean, I still like the trade. Okay, I got ticked out. Can I make it again?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point, Coach. Talked to some VIPs about that earlier today, actually, and just not throwing out your trade idea if it stops you out initially on that first one, because we define what our trade management style is prior to knowing what the market is going to do. Right? You could say two ATRs. You could say break this market structure because we've said it a couple times, right? I'll buy it, make a new low. Well, if that's what I went with, then I got stopped out. But does me getting stopped out invalidate that trade from a couple of perspectives, right? From a market structure perspective, does the market still agree with that trade idea? And was my timing just wrong? Can my account facilitate me taking another one? But a lot of times, I think what happens is we get stopped out of trades and then just throw out the idea completely, and that's the perfect opportunity to get right back into the trade, just because of our location might have been a little off. Um, but yeah, can I take that trade again if it sets up? And if you did, you made up for the loss and some.
So those a couple ways of going about it. The idea is this: if your size is too big, you can't take the next. Well, you can, but like, remember, it's a 3,100. It's $3,000. Size it up. I would love to be just right and hold that and make 3,000.
Yeah,
On a 3 lot. Okay, well let's I do a 3 lot now that $300
risking 900 now.
becomes $900. Sizing, being able to take good losses and bigger wins. But it was a great trade. Crude looks pretty good.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
definitely buying. Um,
this looks great, Coach. So I really like what you said too about preempting, if you will, that trade because that VWAP didn't leave. That VWAP leaving was almost just an added confirmation to what we already said, right? Before these markets even did what they did here, we were looking for a spot to buy this, right? So it's just like, hey, yeah, that's just added confluence to the trade already, and go from there. So really nice move in in crude.
the Crude.
Richard Harris, we don't worry about that. We don't worry about insults. We just keep it pushing. Just keep it moving. Leo Varela says, "Will the CPI news be a bullish move?" I'm assuming you're talking about the equities. And if I knew that answer, Leo, man, I'd make $1 trillion tomorrow. I don't know. I don't know. Right? We'll see how the market responds. I'm gonna go with waiting until the market decides and reacts to the print and going from there. Couldn't tell you whether it's going to be bullish, bearish, especially in the short time frame that we trade. It's just about identifying the market's response to it and going from there. But anything else you got on crude, Coach? I'm going to move on to gold and then we'll go to the equities.
That's it.
Awesome. Let's go to gold because gold, which was on the scouting report also, uh, bullish and looked very good. My loss today was buying gold. Um, I'm okay losing buying gold today. Uh, Trying to buy gold. Where I bought it was just a little late. It was somewhere up here before this drop off, but that's why we have a stop loss. Uh, Here's last night's open, and there is our anchored VWAP from the open. And gold is very bullish right now, right? We've talked about it. Market making new all time highs. Made a new all time high overnight last night, 29.68 half. Our new all-time high in gold. And it made an all-time high the way gold likes to make all-time highs, Coach. Made an all-time high and then sold off 60
Was that a
points.
30, 60,
60 points to that low.
$60?
$60. $60. Yeah. $60.
Yeah, $6,000 on a big boy.
If you're on the right side of it, you had a great day.
Gee, could you afford that? There's not one account that could afford that loss. That's probably listening right now. What I mean afford it, say if you had a $60,000 account, you lost 10% of your account in what, half an hour?
No, so this sell-off here was this immediate sell-off here in the 30-minute was 30 points,
Okay,
$30.
three.
The
Wow.
entire move was 60.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't watch it. I watched it last night. I'm not trading it, but it was a great buy last night. Can you get two
Man,
to
was
one
it?
on that?
Yeah, you could have.
Now, Coach,
Mhm.
I'm going to coach you for 1 second. At
Yeah, what's
one
up?
point, how far away from VWAP were you when you bought it?
When I bought it, I was pretty close. This one I actually just held. I had a profit target higher, and then I just left it. Um,
All right.
and then it stopped me out. I was just like, hey, yeah, let me be part of the trend. When I bought it, I was pretty close to 50s. It was just my profit target was higher than where the market was going.
Okay.
I kind of just left it, and then I was listening to Dakota, Slow Markets, and he's just like, "Oh man, what happened with gold?" And we were selling off, so it's like, all right, well, my risk was managed. Um,
Yeah.
Not much I could do
You
there.
mean you didn't blow up your account and there was a $60 move,
Yeah, I mean, I could have very well could have. Uh,
right? And I'm just to say that there you go. That's managing a trade.
yep.
Um, because we hear this, and I blew it out. I blew it out. I keep doing this. The lesson that has to be learned, and maybe this is getting old. Well, good, because the lesson that needs to be learned is to take proper risk. I won't use the word loss or win. It's risk. And if you take proper risk, you shouldn't blow out in one day. That if you're doing that, go back and reevaluate what you're doing. You might have the greatest process,
Mm.
but if you're not measuring the risk correctly, it's not going to work.
Right.
So I really mean it. Reevaluate it. Um, I've been there trying to make $10,000 in one day, and I've done that. Can I do it consistently with that account with the account I had? No, because it only took a little bit of time. Where, all right, well, it's a $12,000 loser now. That all went well. I got to make that back. You know the story. I just in your process measure the risk as it relates to your account balance. And when you can do that, you can begin the road to successful trading.
Yep. 100%. Again, really nice buy initially. If you got caught up in this sell, unfortunately, we don't get to choose when that happens. I don't even know why that happened. I don't know if there was news or anything else out last night. There were more sellers than buyers, is what really happened. I know Coach Hoop was looking for a short, really nice short here, and just presenting some opportunities. Right, we saw it on the 30 minute. I did mark out that 30 minute high volume, which was the highest volume of the day. On the 30 minute, barring, the outside of the market open, any of that, right? Whatever this was the highest volume of the day. We can frame that out and see how the market responds to it. Give me 1 second here. All right. Frame that out, see how the market responds to it. We've talked about that J trade. Was there an opportunity on a shorter? So this is that high volume. Was there an opportunity on a shorter time frame to buy this? Maybe,
Yeah,
right?
there was. Good loss.
Yeah. Right. Good loss. We held 50% in this range. Do we get a 2 to 1 depending on what your risk was? Uh, yeah, but the flow of the market never changed, right? On this bounce, this was just a reflexive bounce. Maybe some profit taking off of these shorts from the shorter time frame traders, but we can see from VWAP, no real buying ever stepped into this market. I had framed out that uh, 30-minute candle, and we can see 50% of that held. And again, volume never left that range to the upside. Gave you a really nice opportunity to short it again if you weren't in it. But we can see the market once we left this range, respecting that range, right? Every time we came back up to it, low of that range, 29.34, we rejected off of it. What does that mean for gold in the higher time frame? Slight pullback. Was that the blow off top move? What do you think, Coach?
Oh wow! Did we win? What was the low of the day?
Low of the day,
Did it hit it?
29.07. Didn't hit it. We got
Uh,
within 5 points of that 200 moving average. Didn't hit it exactly. We tested the highs, which was the previous all-time high, right around 29.10s, and bounced from there. Still looks bullish, but
no,
when you see a move like that,
I call it the buying stopped. The whatever
yep,
buyers we talked to yesterday for a long time about stuck buyers or excuse me, stuck shorts, but which become what? Stuck
buyers.
buyers. They're forced into it. But as soon as they stop, we see this, and we've been talking about it. This this was a little more. We're at a higher level, so it was little more size of the break. Um, so this is still a bull market. Um, would have been nice to touch that 200, and it doesn't even it barely touches it. To see that and those last three lows from yesterday or the day
Oh yeah,
before.
yeah. It hasn't
Look at
been
that.
touched. It's been
About the
doing.
same.
It's close enough. Close enough. 4 points. Same thing here.
Um,
4 points.
yeah, guess it, but um, let's look at the daily.
Let's take a look. See that? That looks like we've gotten a little overextended. What are you seeing there, coach?
Yeah, when we just what we said, we get to all-time highs and we get some supply, right? Literally supply. Here's you want gold at this price, and the vaults open up. Here you go, and then it's. I'm exaggerating a bit, but yeah, that's where is that a top? Won't know until it's made. But
Yep.
is this a bull market? No, I have a flair for the obvious, and this is
Going
an
up.
obvious situation. It's I don't want to sell it. Give me some reason. Settle below the 200 on the half hour. Something. So,
Test the
let's
200 on the half hour,
yeah, there you go.
right?
Uh, oh, I like that, Billy. Won't know until the wagon tips over. Wow.
There you
Uh,
go.
I'll, I'll use that again if I get your permission, Billy. Um, so great. There was an opportunity on both sides. Look at anytime. Here's another trade. We knew that we've been talking about this. When it makes all-time highs, it's due for a big pullback.
Mhm.
Now, we had Asia, what was Asia buying? We had how many higher highs in a row?
Let's see. In a row, we got one, two, three, four on the 30-minute.
On a high and now higher lows. How
Higher
many higher
lows. Oh
lows?
yeah, there we go. From the open, we got one, two, three, four, five, six, seven.
And what time was that? Central time?
This candle is 8:30 central. 8:30 central.
So when did it start buying? It was London?
We started buying as soon as we opened, pretty much.
So that was last night
This is last
on
night's
the
Globex
opening?
open. Yep.
So in Asia, this is where the buyers came in. I I would guess that the buyer, whoever the stuck short, could be somewhere in Asia. I don't know, but
Mm.
it's very interesting. It that buyer emerged, obviously, and did it till the U.S. Open. Now we
Yep.
heard that there's no gold in London.
Mhm.
Sounds like a song, a blues song. Uh, no gold in London.
Yep.
That might be a sign of it, boy. But they found some gold in New York. But seriously, when we talk about in that situation, you have all those higher lows, higher lows. Notice what happens when you got below the low on the next half an hour. It just dumped. That's a pattern I've seen a few times in a few different markets. So you have this runaway, and if we look at it without seeing this breakdown in the present, right?
This looks great. I mean, this is what I
Yep.
saw. I'm like, all right,
S-
let's just keep going. Just keep going.
So when does it fail? When it breaks the low of one of those half an hours, the first time.
Yep.
I've seen this time and again. I use it if I'm long.
Under that low, I'm out. Yeah. Make a new lower
Under the
low. I'm
move it
out.
up,
Yeah.
move it up, move it up, out.
Think we have some ICT traders might call that a break of structure, change
Okay.
of character. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
make a new low, and we're out of there. And it really did change the character of the day, right? From that point, there was nothing but selling. And to answer a question in the chat from Ajaz, you mentioned you could see from VWAP no new buyers stepped in. Can you elaborate on how you see that? Richard Harris says that's not ICT. I knew someone was going to say it. All right, so how do we recognize from VWAP that no new buyers are coming in? One, we need to know exactly what uh, the calculation of VWAP is, right? Volume weighted average price. So in order for this line to move, this red line, which is VWAP here, in order for it to move, not only does price have to move, but volume has to go with that price, right? So in this case, we can see the angle of this VWAP is up and to the right. We have price going up and to the right, but at some point we're getting extended, right? And if we look at the volume patterns here, once we got away from VWAP a little bit, that volume starts to decrease. And this line, the price is getting much further away from this line now. The way we're saying, once we see this selling, we're saying no new buyers came in, is because that angle of VWAP flattened out, right? In order for VWAP to continue trending up, we need new buyers to come in. Look how flat this line is. Um, and maybe there weren't many aggressive sellers to bring it down, but there definitely wasn't any buying in it, right? We can see this line kind of gradually sloping to the downside. And if we anchor it to where the highest volume came in, same thing, right? Once this range was established on this highest volume candle, if we anchor VWAP there, any price movement outside of this, I'm looking at that as those are not convinced buyers, right? Those might be buyers covering a short, but it doesn't look like they're buying to open a position that they're defending right now. Could they be buying and accumulating a position on a longer time frame? Maybe, but for a day trade, uh, they're they're not trading enough volume to continue pushing price higher. Um, all right. Anything else on gold, Coach?
No, I'm good. Let's move on to.
The equities.
Boy, we did this in reverse today.
We did, right?
Is this a
Uh,
good way to keep an audience?
maybe. How many people we have? Did I lose it? How many people are here? 700. Did I lose it? I think we
Alright.
kept them
All right, let's get to the equities.
before they leave. All right. So the equities. Looking at the Nasdaq. Paul's still here. Paul H is still here. That means everybody's here. Here is last night's open in the equities. We've still been in a range, right? If we go out to a daily, we've been talking about this range December 18th candle. There's not much as far as directionality in these markets at all, really. We can see where we're rejecting, which might be nice, right? If you're a range bound trader, I know Nick for a tick was looking for a short in the S&Ps this morning, kind of based off of this range as well. He's looking at volume profile, but there's a lot of volume that got traded in this area that we're not able to get over for right now. Now, are we accumulating a position for a breakout in a direction? That's probably what's going to happen. We know if the equities stay here for much longer, I think we have bigger issues. Uh, where if we're still talking about these prices 2-3 months from now, uh, yeah, who knows? But I think at some point we break out of this range. It's just not yet. Right now we're building up energy. We're still trading some volume. We saw a couple thousand lots get traded in the S&Ps today. Maybe they were taking profits before CPI. Maybe they're building a position for CPI. We don't really know. But a there's not much of a directional bias in the equities over the last month. We'll call it even longer. What are you seeing here, Coach?
Well, I see the 20 and the 50-day moving average. Where is that, Coach?
Right on top of each other.
And what's the low of the day?
The 20 moving average, pretty much.
Okay. So now let's start with this morning's opening, and let's go to a 5-minute or even let's go to a 3-minute.
You going equity open or Globex open?
Let's go equity open, New York
Equity,
open.
New York open. All right, here we go. Here's that low. Man, that's a nice trade though.
Yep. And what's that low? Those lows were made. Now, remember that 20-day moving average. What price is it at?
It was at 21,656. The low of the New York session opening range was 700. So right before that New York open.
Now volume came in.
Hmm.
So to me, that's algorithmic buying or allocation, well worth the risk if I'm a larger institution. That's what it appears to be. If we go down to a 1 minute,
Where do we go?
it's buried in there somewhere.
Here we are.
And so on the get go, there was buying on that 1 minute, and there was some urgency.
Yep.
2-to-1 trade there. Um, what was the risk? Well, it was
Uh,
2-to-1. Let's put
t-
it that way. Without any heat and nothing wrong with that.
no, there wasn't much heat on this trade at all, really. If you didn't catch the initial breakout, you did have some opportunities to buy it against this VWAP. Maybe increasing your risk a little bit, but we've talked about it. Anytime we get a test of VWAP, if it closes below, then I'm out, and we never got a close below until we got a close below, right? And once we got that
Right.
close, then the direction changed, right? And this could be scary. This could be scary to buy this here, where we don't get to see the charts this way, we see them this way, right? So it already feels like the market went without you. We have a 100 points up on the open. It's like, oh damn it, I missed the move. Talk to some of our VIPs about this trade also, and I think the key to taking this trade is doing a little bit of higher time frame analysis and seeing where you think the market has the potential to go.
Mhm.
Right. Ultimately, we don't get to choose where the market stops. We can have an idea for our targets, but the only thing we really get to control is our loss. But if I have an idea that I want to buy it against this VWAP, for me, the way I'm looking at this is if I get to buy near VWAP near 770s, maybe I get 775. Conservative price target is going to be these highs, right? Or maybe 800. That's still 25 points in pretty short order, right? We're getting 20 points in about 2 minutes just buying off of that VWAP. And if the market wants to continue to go, great. But kind of zooming out, maybe looking at some of these higher time frame levels on the shorter time frame, it's telling us, yeah, we're going to buy it. We know that we're in a range, but all right, if we're in a range, where are some potential targets? Yesterday's high is a good spot to look. So getting in this trade on a shorter time frame, and again, we don't get up to yesterday's highs, but having an idea that there's the potential for more to the upside can help you get into this trade if you feel a little late. Because I've been there before, right? Where it's like, oh man, the market
Mhm.
went without me. I'm just going to leave it alone.
And if you're afraid, you can what? Let's say it gets the first time it gets back to the VWAP,
Hmm.
and how much would it cost me to take two ATRs risk?
On a 3 minute, two ATRs is 44 points.
So on a mini, that's 800.
Hmm.
Nah, on a, right on one micro, it's 80. Well, let's see, one, two, or I can lean against that, and if it settles below VWAP, I'm out. So being afraid is telling you is being afraid that I'm going to be wrong
Yep.
mostly
Yep.
in our subconscious. Um so okay, how much am I willing to risk at that point, because it wasn't only like 5 minutes later,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's like that's one of a large amount of time, but what else we taught? I'm not trying I don't see selling in here.
Nope.
If we just removed the candles, and I do this now and again,
You
if
tripped
we
me
just
up
put
for a
a
second.
make it a yeah, I don't see that.
Does anyone here trade with
Okay, is
line
this
charts?
being it
That's a good question. Does anyone here trade with just a line chart? I don't think we see that really much at all, ever. but it gives you a different look. And his royal, there we go. I do that too. Line charts show a better pick.
It gives you, because what is a line chart? That's the settlement.
Yep.
And when you're watching, here's what and it happens to me, and it happens to me to this day. If I'm watching all the ticks, the high, the lows, what is it? It's building anxiety in my subconscious. Like,
Yep.
come on, just go. It's like in our real dream of dreams, it goes from where we make the trade to the level we expect it to go.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh
Doesn't
yeah.
happen.
Yeah. When I do my visualizations, it's the market's gonna break out here and then run 200 points, no drawdown, all blue
And
candles,
please,
blue sky.
yeah, everything else is like it's testing me. It's they don't like me. Whatever it is. But sometimes to relieve that, I'll put the line chart up, or sometimes I'll just put VWAP up. Like there's a way on my CQG charts to hide the bars. Um, it can help reinforce. Like why I even brought that up here. Who's in control early?
Buyer, buyers.
So if I have this need to sell it, I want to see where the buying fails. First time we saw is when it closed below VWAP. Okay, there's my first chance, and from a flow point of view. If
Yeah.
I sold it early, can I hold on through all that? First of all, I'm spitting into the wind. Um, so just so we're to get an idea of reading a market and reacting. Okay, I think of it as I'm the sell broker when I'm in the pit. Where can I sell it? All right,
Right.
I'm gonna give it the first minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is. Read the flow. Don't fade it, especially early.
Yeah.
So
I like what you said, Coach, here about this with the close below VWAP is actually the first time the buyers failed. Because to that point, from that point, right? If we take this out, at this point, I might just be looking for another retest of VWAP to get back into this. Right now, we did get a little bit extended, and again, I think a lot of times we try to catch or get in the move here, right? But in hindsight, it's a lot easier to see it here now. Again, this is completely neglecting the fact that there are higher time frame levels, right? I saw JD just mention we rejected right at 50% of the NFP candle, which I don't remember which day NFP was, so if someone can remind me. But we try to figure out a way, the perfect way to get into this trade right here. The problem with that is, where is it? Is it here? Could I short here? Is that the high? Is that the high? Is that it? And it keeps going. Is that it? Maybe. Is that it? I don't know. Right. So the first time the buying really failed, like you said, coach, is when we got back below that VWAP. Now, at this point, can I take this trade? Am I quick enough to get in somewhere here where I can limit my risk? Um, but this is an opportunity, even if you don't catch this one, another rejection of it, right? Where another test of VWAP to the upside, and there was another VIP that took this trade. Um, the buying finally failed, right? Flat VWAP on a retest of it, an opportunity to take a short. You don't have to try to catch this one because we don't know where this turn is going to be, right? Where there's a couple of times we could have tried to take this short. You had 25 points in your profit in your favor before the market went back up another 25 points, right? And that could have been 100 points before it failed. Are there strategies to take this short? 100%. And you can get better trade location 100%. But if you're struggling and you find yourself fighting the market and uh, being a contrarian and getting stopped out before the market eventually goes in your favor, let it go in your favor first before trying to tell it what to do. Uh, we got a question here from TBO. Do you anchor VWAP to this low here? You definitely can. I think this is the one you're talking about here. This is a retest of that opening range. This is a beautiful trade here too. Shout out to Kelvin Jones if you're here. He's on the Lunatics. and was talking about all of these trades exactly. You can anchor here and use that, and then we got kind of a pinch there. Uh, the Nasdaq was pretty nice. Outside of this, this price action wasn't too bad.
Yeah, if you're looking for a pattern, for those patterns, I mean, we all
Right.
have our different patterns, but that was a J trade, wasn't it?
This one here, yeah,
Nope. VWAP leaves the J trade. Elvis has left the house. 2 to 1? I think so.
all over the place. 40-point trades all over.
So with that, the point I'm trying to make is reading the flow. It's not just looking at the price. I love VWAP because it's volume weighted average price, volume creating. It's volume is fuel. And think of it this way: early, the fuel had pushed it up. Under VWAP, the fuel died out for the buyers. The fuel for the sellers just began, and so forth, in and out. Do they always work? Absolutely not.
Nope,
But when
nothing
you
does.
but can you get 2 to 1s more than half? Let's say you get 2 to 1s half the time. Do the math.
It's a couple of it's nice profits there. Nice
Yeah.
profits there. And not 2 to 1s on I can only risk 4 points on the Nasdaq. If that's your strategy, that's your strategy. But uh, anytime you hear Coach Paul talking about a 2 to 1, he's not talking about a small trade. Uh, it sounds small because it's 2 to 1, and we're thinking, oh, can I get a 10 to 1? But your 10 to 1 might be a Coach Paul 2 to 1 if the risk is defined correctly, based on his suggestion. So yeah, Coach, a lot of 2 to 1s here. Some pretty big trades there. And yeah, this retest of that opening range was pretty nice here.
Wow.
See what else, Coach?
You got the 50% back into the opening range and a J trade.
Yeah. Fortunately, I was already took my losses for the day. Opportunity costs. Opportunity costs. Anything else on the equities, Coach?
No. Did we do the S&P? Is there some other one that we want to
Uh,
go through?
let's
A
take a look.
Dow? What was it? 10 after already?
Yeah, yeah, I know time went quick.
Time.
We started with Crude. Crude took up all our time. That's fine though. Looking at the S&Ps, if somebody in the chat knows the last CPI print, if you can bring up the date, we'll take a look at that from the perspective of the S&Ps. I know there was a trader that asked us to look at the Dow also. Uh, Again, the Dow is the only market that's trading outside of this December 18th range. Every other equity market is trading right in the middle of this range. The Dow looks the strongest right now. Pretty nice buys
Yeah.
as well today.
I would
Similar
def
trade. Go ahead, Coach.
I would define that as flight to quality.
Hmm. Yeah,
You're not if you're a hedge fund manager or a fund manager, you are not going to get fired for buying Dow 30 stocks.
interesting.
That's why you have a flight to quality. Well, I bought, no one got fired for buying IBM. Now, do
I
they
mean,
get
they're
rewarded
buying this
too?
here.
Yeah, they're buying it. Oh,
Coach Paul, we got a question from Wally. What is the J trade?
all right. Let's go back to are we in the 3-minute here? Yes.
Yeah, we're on the 3 minute. Do you want to look at the Nasdaq? That's where we saw it.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's start from the opening and get rid of everything else. So then we rally. We look at the volume, the highest volume, which is usually on the first bar, and it continues. VWAP's going higher. We've gone through this. This is all good. I'm going to be rich if I'm long. When the fuck does this stop going up if I'm short? Have you ever had these feelings? I have.
Yeah.
Without proper risk management, that's what happens. right? I,
Yes.
we've all been through this, man, probably many times. So now, whatever, we go forward and we'll get to a J trade. And volume, okay, we have a spike in volume, but okay, let's look at this first selling spike of volume.
This one right here. Okay.
All right.
Mm.
Now, has that changed anything? No, it's still going higher. I mean, so let's measure that one. Let's see where the next high spike of volume comes in and whether it's buying or selling. We go forward. Oh, we're getting it. Now we have
Got a little
different.
spike here.
This selling is where?
Right under VWAP. The initial VWAP from the day.
Okay. Now we go forward and we start measuring these high volume and we're getting a series. The first one, let's go, we framed out. All right, we don't have to go through this. We could frame that out. Does it get above that bar? Next one, does it get above that bar? No. More selling, does it get above that bar? No. More selling. Now, here, we got above the bar. We anchor. So in other words, we're looking to see where selling stops.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
we anchor a VWAP and we see where it goes from there. Did selling stop?
This is so with this J trade, unless you're trying to preempt it, because of what we're seeing here, where we keep making lower highs, higher lows, lower highs. There's no trade yet because
Mhm.
we, like you just said, Coach, we don't know when it's going to stop.
And if we're long, we feel it's never going to stop.
Right.
So now we have high volume and we've got, where can we see that we could anchor a VWAP? We could do the 50% of that range. We could do both. Now, I like this one the best. We close above that.
Yep.
That's selling. Now I have some information. The selling, I can make an assumption or I can make a probability bet that the selling has stopped.
Yep.
And make, if I want to buy it, what's my risk? I use 2-to-1 ATRs. You can use whatever. It's to new lows. But if it's too tight, I want it to go right now, and I'm only going to risk a point. No, good luck.
Yeah.
Um,
Two ATRs at this point on a 3-minute chart, and this is waiting for this candle to close. Where again, you might feel like you're late, right? Somebody might say, "Oh, I was supposed to catch it at 7:20." Um, yeah, but you didn't know it was going to stop at 7:20, right? The market had to prove that it was going to stop at 7:20, and maybe you did, right? Maybe you looked at a different level, maybe some volume profile or something like that, but not worrying about trying to capture the extremes of this range. Your entry somewhere up here at 760, right? Waiting for this candle to close. Two ATRs would have been 40 points, coach. Um, Somewhere down here on a 3-minute. Uh,
I
even
had a
if you were
duck
late.
because the volume that they wanted me to move a little.
Oh, my bad.
Okay. No, this is it was a big break. So that's a classic J trade with,
And
with also holding the opening range.
yep. Yeah, held the opening range, and we never really get. Oh, well, I mean, you did get a 2-to-1. Depends on how patient you wanted to be. You got a 2-to-1. It took an hour and a half, uh,
Oh,
but you got a 1-to-1. You got 40 points here, right? That's $800 on a one lot, and that's technically being late to the move, right? You waited for that confirmation of the close, which I think we are both going to suggest that Most traders do that, right? You can try to preempt it, but might take a lot of stop outs on false reversals doing that, right? But once you got that close, I'll take a 40-point trade in the Nasdaq every day.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh,
We've got a couple other questions. We got 15 minutes. I think we're just going to extend this session right into Coach Hoop so we can just pass everyone over to Coach Hoop because it feels like we run out of time every single time. Um, so let's just keep going. My view, if you're okay with that, Coach.
I will. I'm okay if that. If we can get some, if everyone hits the like button,
Oh, look at
that
that. I like
hasn't hit
that.
it before.
You're getting pretty good at this YouTube thing.
Yeah. Well, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
You're getting pretty good at
Uh,
this YouTube thing. Dante Sweeney, what exactly does a J trade mean? Is the pattern in a J format? No, because it can be a reversal the other way. Uh, Coach Paul started calling it the J trade sometime last year when we were doing this in Discord because I talked about this pattern every day. I think he was trying to subconsciously get me to trade every single one of these when I saw it. Uh, but it's a reversal, and it can be a 3-bar reversal. It can be 5 bars. Really not looking at how many bars it takes. It's looking at volume stopped at a specific area. Does the market get back above that volume? Because when we see it, and just framing this out, we talked about the trade here. The market respects volume. It came back to it and gave you another opportunity to take that same exact trade. So that's why we're looking at it. Not a J. I mean, I guess this kind of is a J, right? Depending on how you look at it.
no,
But
it's it's an homage to Coach J.
yep, there
It
we
is.
go.
It, he saw this trade and pointed it out. I'm not exaggerating. A couple hundred times when we were on Discord.
Man, yeah,
It it here's it's more than an anomaly. It's a structure of the market. That is pure market generated information. By the way, in my 4 decades, this has only been available for about 10 to be able to read this. And like that, because the volume with VWAP is measured and it's relative to the price. So if I'm short and
yeah,
I see a J trade, oh, let me ask, if it doesn't hit my price target, I get some new information when that happens.
yep.
Okay, I didn't get out at the bottom. By the way, be honest with yourself. What percentage of your trades did you buy the low or sell the high?
On purpose.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Even that's even worse. So get out of the mindset of buying lows and selling high. It's just price. Don't get me wrong, just price.
Buying
Now you
lows and
add volume
selling
to it.
high.
You got information. Okay, if I sold that and I'm short, I'm with the tide. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yep.
Greed says, no, I want it. If it gets back down
It,
there, I need to make $5,000.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Greed says this needs to get to 700. The market says we're not going any lower than 720.
very good.
So I could want it to do something, but doesn't change the fact that it's not going to do it just because I want it to. There's a lot of
And
wants
want
in the
is
market.
yeah, that's a 4-letter word.
Watch your mouth. All right, so we got a couple other questions here. My VWAP only offers session VWAP on Topstep X. How do you anchor yours to a specific bar? This is for Scott, and I see a couple other people asking this question as well. The anchored VWAP tool is a drawing tool. So you have this panel on the left side, 5 icons down. You have projection tools. They changed the name. That used to be called something else. But in there is anchored VWAP. I have it as a star because I use it, put that shit on everything like Frank's Red Hot.
We're gonna rename it Frank's Hot Sauce.
Right. I think we hit our first jar quota for the session 2. They're gonna cut us off.
Yes.
But I click the anchored VWAP here, and then I anchor to a specific candle. My criteria for anchoring, it's either gonna go on a opening range, So I look at the 3 minute opening range for the New York session or some type of high volume, right? Once we're outside of the opening range, and I talked to some of the VIPs about this as well, there's only one opening range breakout trade every day, right? But if I'm going to look for another trading opportunity, I want my criteria to be somewhat similar to how I look at the opening range. So, what does the opening range always have? High volume. So, where my next anchor is going to go? High volume. Um, there are traders that use swing highs, right? The high of the day, you could have used that. That was a pretty nice one. If once you've established that this is the high of the day, right? We get this 3 bar reversal right here, Dakota 3 bar reversal, anchor it to that high, and it's a resistance on the entire way down. That could be an option. But for me, I'm going to anchor to high volume. Play around with it, experiment, see what
Yeah.
helps you make trading decisions. Go ahead, coach.
Yeah, I love what you say. Experiment with it.
Yep. Teach us
You might
something.
find something, teach us something. You might find, I like this one. Um, let's say you had levels. All right. Is
Hmm.
my level going to hold? Now, in a NASDAQ, I had a level of 21,854. That was my first level of resistance. Now I could put a VWAP to that.
Where do you want to put it? The candle that tested it.
The candle that it tested it.
Here's that first one. Uh,
All right.
Let me do that again.
So when it first gets
854.
to my level, I can put a VWAP on there and see when it gets under VWAP. Now that with volume, not just price, volume. And that is, I don't know, do I have to say it? It has much more information than just price alone.
Yep.
So looking at it, wow, looking at it there, um, I might be doing that every day. Um, and I can take good risk here. I can lean on it. If I just took that first time it hit, I might get stopped out, spooked out.
Yep.
Um, but using VWAP, I can find out when it's turned with volume. Volume's the energy that moves a market.
100%.
Price is just an advertisement, right? I mean, think of yourself as a business. You own a store. You know, you got inventory. It's not selling. You put it on sale to create volume,
Yep.
right?
Nate B says, I got to get off the screens and go touch grass. Luckily, you can still see your grass. Mine is covered in snow. Uh,
Yes. Just don't
um,
smoke grass.
right. I mean, we're all adults here. Uh, I got nothing else. I think we answered all the questions. Oh, last thing I wanted to look at, we'll look at it on the ES. We extended it. Why not keep extending it? January 15th was the last CPI print that we had. So let's go to a January 15th. I think we could, oh, January 15th. That worked. All right, here is the CPI candle on the S&Ps. That candle, coach, is 55 points in 3 minutes, and we really know that was 1 minute.
It
Uh,
was 15 seconds.
15 seconds. Uh, how do you manage your risk in there? You probably don't. But everything we just talked about, anchoring VWAP to that high volume, right? We know that's a news event. VWAP leaves the range. What does the market do? Every time it comes back and tests it, it gives us an opportunity to buy it. This is exactly how I'm going to. I'll be on Fast Markets tomorrow, giving some suggestions for the house account trades. This is exactly how I'm going to trade this, uh, where I don't need to guess what this is going to do. I just want the market to tell me, and then be a good follower.
There you go.
We got one more. What was the other CPI? December 15th. Somebody said, I think, right, or December 11th. We're gonna go right into Coach Hoop's class. I want everybody to go over and show Coach Hoop some love in Discord after this. Uh, how do you play opening range breakouts? Froy, we'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow. But pretty much
Ugh.
exactly what we talked about here. December FOMC, right? That was the 18th. Oh that was this. Same concept though. News candle. Here's FOMC. I don't need to trade right at 1 p.m. Central when the number comes out. Anchor VWAP there. There's your opportunity. Every news event, I'm going to look at the exact same way. It's going to present some information, and my job is to be a great follower. How about showing some love to the YouTubers you take your ideas from? Mav Trader, YouTubers I take my ideas from. I've Anna Cooling for volume analysis, Rich Lepis for all of the tape reading stuff. Brian Shannon, we've given these shout outs multiple times before. Uh, I give credit when credit's due. Uh, yeah, I got
Yep.
nothing else.
Okay.
What you got, Coach?
That's showing some love. Um, wow, look at that. Um, I'm going to give a shout out to Coach J for the Coach J trade, pushing me to understand volume better, and it truly has helped my trading. So there's a shout out for Coach J. And no matter what, even with this, develop your own process because you have to execute it. You might not be able, if I showed you that what I do, you might not be able to take the heat, or you might be able to take more heat, or you might do it better. You
Yep.
might do it worse, but you're not going to do it well unless you develop it. It has to come from you. And that's where discoveries get made. So, um, great session today. I want to pass it off to you, Coach.
I got nothing else, Coach. I love the trading community. It's, it's been great working with you all and continuing to work with you all. And we'll see you all tomorrow. We'll be back.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Oh, get us out of here.